Hello guys and welcome to another video, and unless you've been sleeping under a rock, today's subject matter you will be very aware of. His name's Grant Cardone. He is the larger-than-life American superstar when it comes to real estate and branding, and I will be honest, I am in awe of how much of a following he has generated in such a short space of time. But before I get too far into the introduction, let me jump outside, let's go into the studio, let's whack on the cowboy boots, because I think this is that sort of episode. And let's go and do a deep dive into Mr. 10X himself, and I'll give you my 2 pennies worth. Any of you guys that are watching who are British, it is freezing out here, and let's go out to the studio. Boom! And here we are. So my name's Mark Parham, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm an investor, and in today's video we're going to be looking at Grant Cardone. So I'd realised I hadn't introduced myself, so I thought I'd better do so. But let's get into it and let's have an understanding of who Grant Cardone is. Grant Cardone is the author of the 10X Rule. Now this book professes to change anybody's life, and I've done you the favour of listening to the entire audiobook so that I can give you my 2 pennies worth. So at its core, the book talks about approaching problems and challenges in businesses with a different mindset. Instead of looking at how you're going to do one shop, for example, look at how you would do 10. And this is something that I live by. So a good example of this is me and my business partner. We've recently opened a pizza and burger store. Now we're not planning on just doing one store. We're looking already at how we're creating processes, systems and marketing and branding that will mean that we can do 10, 100 and 1,000 stores. And that mindset's completely different to if I was just opening up a single store in a single town. Now, obviously, this 10X thinking isn't applied to everything. I don't want 10 children, let alone 30. I've got 3 already. I don't want 10 hamburgers at McDonald's, do I? Hey, can I have 10 double cheeseburgers? Sorry, I forgot who I was. But what it really does represent is that shift in mindset and having to take massive action in order to staircase yourself to the next level. And I have really enjoyed the book. It's something that, as I said, I was already kind of living, but to hear it reiterated to me, I found that really useful. So Mark, as a property investor, how would this help me? What would Grant Cardone say? Well, unfortunately, I was going to insert a clip of Grant Cardone talking here, but I'm not able to. So for you, I've overcome my technical inability with a mask so that I can tell you exactly what Grant has said. Now, I'm not even going to attempt to put on the American accent, but in essence, what Grant has said is, Mark, you're thinking about the wrong problem. You shouldn't be considering how to buy a single family home. Only multifamily homes work. If you've got a block of 300 apartments and 10 tenants move out, well, you're still 97% occupied. Whereas if you've got a single family home and one person moves out, you're screwed. But Grant, how much would it cost to buy a 300 or 3,000 unit deal? Surely that'd be really, really expensive. Don't worry, Mark. If you're finding the $50 million price tag a little bit too much, Uncle G's got you. I've set up a fund called Cardone Capital, and you can invest with me, and I can help you build your portfolio through my business. Now, I hope you're enjoying the video. If you are, please give it a big like. I massively appreciate it. It helps me out with the algorithm. And also, if you haven't already subscribed, why not consider subscribing? As you know, until I get to 1,000 subscribers, if you want to have a one-to-one conversation with me, have a look in the description. There'll be a link. You can book a call with me. But back to the video and back to Uncle G. So I have watched many of Grant Cardone's videos, some by choice and some because he's following me around the internet wherever I go because I once visited his homepage. He is the master of branding and being in your face. And that comes back to this 10X rule principle. I have to say, this thing about multifamily being the only way to purchase real estate as an investor, it really doesn't work for me. I think that the barriers to entry are prohibitively high for most people. And whilst he says if 10 people leave your building, you've still got 97% occupancy, you've then got to fill 10 more properties. However, if one person leaves mine and I fill one house, I'm at 100% occupancy again. There are some things with scale that I think are much easier, and I'll give you a good example. It's much easier to purchase one £50 million deal than it is to purchase 500 £100,000 deals. But for us mere mortals, we're not looking at purchasing a £50 million piece of property anytime soon. So I don't think we can worry about that sort of scale. The other thing on the scale side that it does help you for is to get a true reflection of the market. You'll very quickly be able to work out a percentage of your tenants that are going to move out, a percentage that are going to cause damage, a percentage that are going to not pay, and you're going to get a true reflection of the market at any one point in time. Now, on the flip side, it's harder to affect the outcome. So at scale, there's more room for margin for error. When you're small, it's much easier to micromanage problems and micromanage solutions. At a bigger scale, you have to put systems and processes in place that take you out of the equation, and as such, you can't affect the end result nearly as well. But Mark, didn't you say earlier that you were all into 10x thinking? Well, look, I think there's a limit to everything, right? So for me, I don't want to hand over all of the control, all of the decision making to a third party. If in 10 years, for example, a third party wants to sell all the assets and cash in, and I don't want to be bound by their decision. There's also been a lot of noise about the fees that Cardone Capital charge, and for me these sound quite prohibitive. Now, I don't know for certain, but this is what I've heard, so don't hold me to it. It's a 1% on anything that it's purchased, 1% on anything that's sold, and 35% of all profits. Not forgetting the 1% of assets under management of the yearly management charge. Now you've got to remember, this is 1% of the purchase price, not 1% of the money that you put in. So if they apply leverage to something, for example, if you put in £100,000 and they purchase something for £400,000 with 75% of leverage on a 75% LTV as we call it, then you would be paying £4,000 of fees for that purchase. You'd also be paying £4,000 a year. Wow, disturbed a pheasant. Has anything more British ever happened? But look, you can see where I'm going with the fees. They seem quite high. I don't know whether they're industry standard because I don't know enough about the American, I think they call it American real estate syndication of property. But for me, it sounds quite prohibitively high and expensive, and probably the reason that Grant is able to fly around the world in his jet. But don't get me wrong, guys, this isn't me saying that Grant Cardone's doing anything wrong. He doesn't have to help you guys invest. You don't have to invest with him. You know, there's no obligation. He's simply marketing his product, marketing his service. He's doing a very, very good job of that. And ultimately, it's up to you guys to decide whether or not that's something you want to invest in. Now, for me, I disagree with the approach. As I said earlier on, I think that multifamily home isn't the only way to invest. But then again, I'm not investing in the hundreds of millions or the billions. I've got a far more modest portfolio myself of around 3 million or so, but I'm diversified across many industry sectors. I've got single family homes, I've got HMOs, I've got serviced accommodation, and I'm in different geographies. I'm really happy with the way that my portfolio is handling and performing. And over time, different geographies do better and different demographics do better, but overall, I've got a really good return on investment within my portfolio. And all I have to do is manage the managers that manage it. That's a tongue twister. And this is why we kind of set up Legacy, right? Which is the business that I'm involved in. It's kind of to provide those services to other investors. And if you are interested in that, have a quick look. The difference that we have is that you own the asset. We source it, we manage it, we renovate it, we rent it out, but you own it. So ultimately the exit is completely up to you, and we simply take a management charge. And if you're interested in that, book a call with me. As I said, have a look in the description. There's a link in there. You can book a call with me free of charge and we can have a chat about Legacy. But what are your opinions? What are your thoughts of Grant Cardone? I have to say, I really do have mixed opinion. When people are clearly putting forward their product, which they believe in it, and I completely can understand that, but at the same time they don't give a balanced view. They simply dismiss everything else as rubbish, and I just don't think that's fair. Now, I'm not saying that multifamily sucks at all. I think if you can afford an apartment block, or if you don't have the time or the effort or anything like that, you don't want to own the underlying asset, you want somebody else to do it all for you, then maybe that's for you. But to say that that's the only way, I can't really agree with that. It's not the only way. Guys, it's so cold outside, I literally just jogged home. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm massively interested in your opinion. And if there's anything else that you would like me to cover or discuss, put it down in the comments. I'll make sure I include it in my next video. But I've been Mark Parham. I've really enjoyed putting this video together for you. And I will see you again on Monday when we'll be doing a property tour of a property that I'm renovating up in Corby. So we'll see you then.